Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how are you doing tonight?
I am hot. It is very, very warm down here in Orlando this week.
Well, you're back on property. You are recording from a balcony for the very reason that you are down there tonight. Tonight we are talking about a reimagineered building at the Grand Floridian. It was regular Grand Floridian hotel space, and now it has been converted to villas. And you are down there as it is opening up on property. So you are speaking to us from a balcony. Am I correct?
That is correct. I will also say, bonus for me, this trip has been planned since they announced the opening date. And while I was on the plane yesterday, Port Canaveral announced that the Disney Wish would make its first call into Port Canaveral at 5 a.m. And so, I did what anyone else would do. I got up at 3 o'clock and I took my rental car. I headed to the port and I brought the Wish in.
Well, let's pump the brakes on quote, what anyone else would do, because I don't think that anyone that's listening to this show, unless they are as crazy as maybe you are, would have actually taken that drive and gone and seen it at 3 or 4 or 5 a.m. it coming in. But I'm happy that you did. I know that you're going to have some media ready for folks to view on the YouTube channel to see that happening. So I thank you for that in advance. But tonight we are talking about this reimagineered building on the property of the Grand Floridian that is now villas. It's a unique show. So I guess, where do you want to begin? What makes sense? We did do a show number 68 on the Grand Floridian, but this is a little bit different tonight.
Right. So if you're interested in finding out about transportation and amenities and all of those things the resort has, pop back to show 68. It'll be linked in the show notes. That'll give you the resort overview. But I'm really going to talk just about one building and one room category tonight. Similar to when we did our show on the Polynesian that took 3 of their buildings and converted it to DVC. This is an existing building of the Grand. So if you've always stayed at the Grand and you've stayed through Walt Disney Travel Company and you've been in Big Pine Key, news for you, this is no longer going to be a regular building. And I'm going to take a minute and talk about what does a regular building mean. So DVC, that acronym that we use a lot, is the Disney Vacation Club. It is Disney's timeshare program. The rooms are decorated and maintained by Disney, not individual owners. So when you walk into a room, if you're not familiar with Vacation Club, it's going to look like a hotel to you. And if owners aren't using it, you can book it online through the Walt Disney Travel Company, or of course, we hope you'll trust my team and I with your trip and book it through us. But these are rooms that are available to every guest, not just those that are Vacation Club members.
So before you go anywhere further on the subject, anybody that's listened to any of our shows knows that when the concept of Disney Vacation Club comes up, we like to mention our friends over at dvcnews.com. And for more than a decade, DVC News has provided the latest news and information regarding the Disney Vacation Club timeshare program and its member resorts. You can visit them at dvcnews.com, or you can sign up for their email newsletter, or look for them at facebook.com/DVC News or twitter.com/DVC News. So you're giving us a little bit of a breakdown of an existing spot that folks were used to, that it's now being converted, a little bit of breakdown of DVC. Go to dvcnews.com to get some more information. What else? Why are we talking about this tonight, I guess, is really the big question, aside from the information that you've given to us. What is different? What has changed? What do we need to know?
So if we were talking a year ago, there's the main building that everybody knows is the home of the monorail, and that only has club level or concierge rooms. Then there are 5 outer buildings to the Grand Floridian, one of which is a secondary concierge building. So there are actually only 4 regular resort room buildings. And now that Big Pine Key has converted over to those Vacation Club rooms, it means there's 3 buildings left for Grand Floridian. So if you're a Grand Floridian diehard fan and you only vacation at Grand Floridian, I'm going to suggest you start booking earlier. There's less inventory. And the Big Pine Key is actually one of my favorite buildings because you walk out the main building and it's kind of right in front of you, just a little bit to the right of the pool. So super convenient if you're getting to the quick service, trying to get to the monorail, to any of the sit down dining. I love the location of it. So I know that regular resort goers are going to be sorry it is no longer an option for them. But it is, as I said, an existing building. There's nothing that they did to the exterior. So they were basically working with that shell, which means when you walk in through the door into the building, they've got a great lower lobby, a great area just to sit and lounge and gather and meet with people, because all of the buildings at Grand Floridian are designed that way. So they've kept that element to it.
What about any kind of like artwork on the walls, things like that? Anything that we've seen, like as far as theming? I guess that's really the question, right? As you go walk through the hallways, when you think the Grand Floridian, you think a very specific theme, a very specific look, feel, sound, smell. Where do you see the theme there? Does it live in that? You mentioned the lobby. Does it live on the walls? Those types of things.
You can find it in the walls, in the hallways, in a lot of the artwork. They've taken this very subtle Mary Poppins theme. It's that light blue and green, and they've carried it in floral and little touches. So there might be some scroll work, and within the scroll work, you'll find Mary's famous umbrella or a picture of her flying as a silhouette. But you're only going to see that when you're really looking at it.
Which I kind of like, especially when you look at the Grand Floridian. Like the Grand Floridian is one of those hotels that I think the subtlety of the theming, the Disney theming rather, is what makes it so unique, because you are paying for a different experience, I feel, when you're paying for the Grand than you would be paying for something like at Art of Animation. It's just a very different feel.
I think that's very true, but I also think if you think about the time of Mary Poppins and that it is an original Disney film versus nothing against it, but a current day Pixar animated film.
Right.
So for instance, some of the things that you see are house fronts that you would see on Cherry Lane, and the type of trees that line the street. If you're not familiar with that artwork, it's not screaming Disney.
Got it. Okay. So it would make me very happy, but but not necessarily everybody else.
It's a beautifully appointed room.
Okay. Anything else about where you see the theme, or are we ready to move on?
I think we're good. I'll pick up some little touches as we talk about the room layout, but that'll give you a good overview.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the room layout, because that's kind of where I was going to go next. From a practicality standpoint, you and I spend more time off air talking about practicality of rooms throughout property or other properties. So let's talk about the practicality of the room. Obviously, we're converting an existing space into something different. Let's talk about how the room works.
So I'm going to hesitate because of that word practicality. It's an extremely practical room. I actually love the layout.
Okay.
That said, I've looked at the room for hours now, and it just leaves me confused.
In what way?
Am I in a DVC property? We've talked over and over that there are hallmarks that they have designed in all of those studios. And again, unique, only the Polynesian has this as well, because it's a converted building. This building is 200 studios only.
Okay.
I love the room, but if I didn't know that I was in a vacation club room, except for the sign inside the closet that tells me so, I wouldn't know that I'm in a DVC room.
Interesting. Because when you think about it, and this is something you deal with every day, and as Disney Vacation Club owners, which you and I both are, we're able to look at it from that perspective as well. But when you're booking a vacation for clients, this is a premium property. So if you're booking a DVC area for a client, you certainly have some expectations that it sounds like those expectations have not necessarily been ignored, but changed based on your visit to this particular reimagined room. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. And that's why I always say that our job is to give you your choices and let you decide. And I look at this room and I say, okay, I see the DVC elements, but then I see standard resort elements, and I even see a little bit of concierge element to it.
Okay.
And so, again, it's a beautiful room. I don't want to leave anybody with any impression beyond that. It's a wow room. It is gorgeous, but it's not what we typically expect from a DVC room.
Well, on
So
show 68, Sandy, we broke down the different options, right? So give us what makes that different, because you are stressing that. So I think it's important for folks to have an understanding, if they've heard that show, to now be able to identify it in what you're talking about.
I think that's a great idea. So again, DVC is a timeshare, and their tagline is that it's your home away from home.
Right.
So that's why you typically find some extra amenities that you wouldn't find in other resorts, because it's presumed maybe you're staying a little bit longer, maybe you're doing a little bit less park time because you're more of a regular here. I will say, when you look at the video that we have of the room up on YouTube and all of our photos, the very first thing that always makes it a DVC room that you're going to notice is missing is a microwave. And they have gotten so much feedback on the missing microwave that I have been told they are on order. They will be here soon. They're just not here today.
Yeah. Snapping the fingers, pixie dust immediately. We need the microwave. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I always tell clients, it's that wet bar that makes it DVC. You get that microwave, you get a toaster, you get that extra little sink. You get, when you're in a studio, all of the paper goods
Right.
to go with it.
Right.
It's going to be interesting how they're going to try and lay that into this area, since it wasn't planned for. The toasters are not coming to the rooms, but they are available on request. And I think what goes right in with that is all studios have some form of a table and two chairs.
Okay.
And again, that's a missing item here. What they've given us instead, which again, I love, just different expectation, we have like a makeup table. So an absolutely beautiful scene, again, a la Mary Poppins, beautiful trees and birds and giant mirror and this big marble table with this beautiful white square box placed dead center on the table. And I'm thinking, what is that little treasure? It's the blow dryer. I was a little taken back. And then, because it is that dressing / makeup table, it's got a long bench without a back. Could two people sit there next to each other and have breakfast on that table? Sure. Is it what we're used to? It's not. For somebody like me and many of my clients who might have to put in an hour of work every day, not having a chair with a back at a regular table throws me from that perspective, not just how am I feeding the kids breakfast. So I'm going to make a lot of people's day when I talk about the bathroom. The bathroom is very well laid out. It's 2 sinks and then a separate door that takes you into a room with a commode and a shower / tub with a rain shower. This is going to sound silly, but it really surprised me that there are still individual shampoo and conditioner instead of the big pump bottles that they've converted everybody to. And again, I looked at that as they wanted that aesthetic on the counter in the bathroom. But again, that's where I say this is DVC, but it's looking like it's trying to be the Grand. If it was the Grand, you would still have the shampoo and the body wash, but you would also have a mouthwash and a foot cream that they are very well known for. It is one of my favorite items after a day at the park to use their special foot cream. So again, it's like this mix of what do we have here?
Yeah, half in and half out right now.
Half in, half out.
Okay. What else?
Again, they've gone to that cool box like we used to talk about on the cruise ship. So it's the refrigerator, but it's got a glass front. They say it doesn't get all the way to that cool temperature. It is hidden in a cabinet. And again, it's a very narrow cabinet, a pull-out drawer with paper goods and coffee. And above that is a single-serve Keurig. For now, they're going to have to figure out how to put the microwave, I'm guessing, up one level on a shelf there.
But for coffee making, you're looking at that single serve Keurig.
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, typically in a studio, we have a mix. Often they were doing paper goods. Here we have ceramic mugs and actual glasses for beverages, not paper.
So I know one of the things that you had mentioned specifically when we looked at the refurbishment in the Contemporary Resort when the Incredibles were there was the closet. So I have to ask you about the closet with these refurbished rooms. What do we see with the closet?
This closet isn't doing it for me, I'll be honest. And again, it's where I see that crossover. It's not the big closet that we're used to with with the sliding doors. This is 3 individual doors that open, so it's a bit smaller on the closet space. Does have a full-length mirror inside, which is great. Again, here's that crossover. Are we in a DVC property or are we in a resort? It has 2 robes, typically something we'd see club level in other resorts. And then they make this distinction that I really don't understand. And I'm going to be very honest with you. If I hadn't read the paper that's on the wall in the closet, I would have missed this one. So if you were to stay in a studio in the Grand Floridian Villas building, you will get an iron and an ironing board. If you stay in the new, what they're calling a resort studio, you get a steamer. So no iron, a steamer. Again, I'm lost. What the difference is, why there's a difference. 90 people are going to tell me I clearly don't iron clothes. That's correct. I do not. My mom is crying now. What can I tell you?
Well, you can't have everything, Mom. That's the way it works. But that's a departure, right? You've got a couple of departures here. That is one of them, from the iron and the ironing board to the steamer.
The next thing, again, is a real bonus for the majority of people I know. 2 queen-size beds. So normally we've had that queen and the pull-out. We've had a queen and a Murphy bed. This is going to be 2 queen beds and then a single sofa sleeper. So it sleeps 5. If you're only 4, nobody needs to sleep on a pull-out, which is great. Really well designed. I love, again, we're not back in the 70s and 80s. There are no bedspreads. It is nice, clean, white linen with these great decorative pillows besides your regular sleeping pillows. And again, those decorative pillows bring in a wonderful element of Mary Poppins and the penguins in the design there. So that's a nice little bonus. Again, they're designed similar to what we would find on the ship. Super narrow night tables so that you have a spot to put your phone. You've got the outlets and the USB plugs right next to the phone. Again, they've really worked hard to put outlets and USBs everywhere. We even have that off of the dresser, which is right next to that 5th sleeper.
So that's
a great thing.
I guess my big question for you, what did you love about this room, or what do you love about the room? Because you're currently in it. So I guess that's the fair question. Not what did you, what do you love about the current room?
As I said, there's a lot to love about it. It is beautifully appointed. I didn't talk yet about the chandelier, which I'm just in love with. I want one in my house.
I'm sure it's cheap. You can probably get it at the gift shop. It's fine.
I'm thinking, if I get up on the bed, I could probably remove it. Just kidding. It looks like it's a big gold chandelier with these big candelabra bulbs in it. And it looks like there's 2 rings of candelabra bulbs. But in reality, only the inner ring is actual bulbs. The outer ring are all birds, and then there is a penguin placed in one of the bird spots. So almost like your version of a hidden Mickey, Mary Poppins style.
I love it. Feed the birds. Love it.
So again, it's a beautiful, beautiful room. It just is lacking what I think of when I think of DVC. Again, when I look at a DVC room for a couple, when we're talking about a studio, I like in a lot of cases that you have the couch or the Murphy bed with the couch up front, because then you have a spot to sit if you want to sit and watch TV.
Right.
And you have that extra floor space so it feels bigger. I know that's one that can be 50-50 for people, because others say, I don't want to spend all this money and have my child sleeping on a pullout.
Right.
So that's definitely a personal choice. But again, it's a beautifully appointed room. I'm always big about talking about bathroom functionality, because that's important when you're trying to get out to the park.
Sure is, yeah.
You know, does that work? This bathroom works. The location to the main building works. It's beautiful. Price-wise, it gets interesting around here, because the standard resort rooms come in garden view, lagoon view, and theme park view. The villas that opened many years ago come in standard view and garden view. And now these new studios come in garden, lagoon, and theme park.
Got it.
And so, do you? Because I think it's a lot.
No, I do. I think it makes sense, because they're converting old rooms into these rooms. So it would make
it's a lot of rooms to take in for people to understand. And again, these studios are extremely different than the studios over in the Villas building, which I love as well. But you want to be careful what you're booking, whether you're booking a studio villa or a resort studio. That's kind of the distinction in names that they've given. Probably the last piece I would say is the Villas building, which again, this is not the Villas building. The Villas building has all different size rooms. This only has studios. And again, unique to here and the Polynesian, they're the only two resorts to offer connecting studios. But the lobby in this building in Big Pine Key will not have its own check-in desk. You can check in the main grand building or over in the villas. Either one will help you. It's totally your choice.
Well, any closing thoughts you have this evening before we wrap this show up?
I think if it were me and I were picking where to stay, I honestly love this building enough that this would be my first choice if I was looking at standard room versus studio. So I know I might have sounded a little ambiguous in the beginning, but it's really because of how they classified it, not because there's anything about this room that gives me any hesitation to stay here.
Well, Sandy, again, I thank you for taking the flight down to check out these new rooms. The bonus of seeing The Wish, we really appreciate that. Looking forward to seeing that media hit the YouTube channel as well. And have a great week.
You too. Thanks, Jeff.
That's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week, and as always, keep making memories.